We've got a Patreon.
Why'd you say it like that, Ian?
Sorry, it was because something was rumbling.
It's like you were disgusted with the Patreon.
I was disgusted with myself.
No, Patreon.com.
Patreon. Woo! Patreon.com/CU podcast. You go, you give money. You pay. And
get Ian writing once a week. We do a Google Hangout once a month. We have an exclusive podcast every week for you all. And you get to vote on these polls.
Poll topics. What do we got?
In second place, the top NES games rated to listicle 40%. In first place, a healthy 60% impressive Game Boy ports. I guess this can mean arcade ports or ports from other consoles.
Game Boy has many impressive arcade ports, many versions of games that have been taken from the arcade and shrunken down for the Game Boy that have worked out well. They also have really good interpretations of certain games. So almost not like a direct port, but I mean, it's a port in terms of what the Game Boy can do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of bad ones too. What was interesting to me to see during the 90s was how many popular fighting games got ported to the Game Boy.
Do you want to start with some of these arcade ports first?
I was going to start with the fighting game ports.
Go for it.
So Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2, Killer Instinct.
It's so funny that Killer Instinct was on that. An N64 game. It's so funny.
Super Nintendo game. Well, and N64,
oh, yeah,
sure. Killer Instinct, Samurai Showdown, King of Fighters, Battle Arena Toshinden, World Heroes, just tons and tons of fighting games.
I didn't know Battle Arena Toshinden was on there, really.
Yes, and we're going to get to that in a second because that's one of the absolute best ones. And you would think that not a lot of these fighting games would be particularly fun with two buttons, and in some instances you'd be right. Mortal Kombat is not very good on the Game Boy. King of Fighters is okay. Not as good as what would later be on the Neo Geo Pocket.
Two buttons, you can get away with a Mortal Kombat more than Street Fighter.
And then, what else was I going to say? So those ones weren't great. Killer Instinct, not great. Street Fighter, on the other hand, plays really well, despite having only two buttons. I think it's only missing one or two characters.
I think it's missing two, but I'll look it up.
And it's really fun. I still go back and play through Street Fighter 2 on the Game Boy every once in a while with Chun-Li. It's a really fun game, and it's impressive to me that they took the first popular fighting game and managed to make a port of it on the Game Boy that, while definitely lacking features, was still fun and playable.
Oh, Street Fighter 2. Oh, they included this is like a Champion Edition. They included M. Bison,
right,
and Balrog and Sagat.
But so is anyone missing?
Oh yeah. There's no Dalsim. They probably couldn't do the
Dalsim. Yep.
There's no E Honda. And there's no Vega, but they probably couldn't do the jumping around. So
so there are some missing, but they try to make up for it by adding some of the dash.
I'm surprised there's 9 because I know Mortal Kombat they have
Mortal Kombat I think is 5. Even on the Game Gear, it's pretty low.
Let me check that right now. But you're saying overall though, for a Game Boy, it does a decent job.
Yeah, it does a decent job. And then the SNK games are a bit of a more mixed bag, which is interesting because Takara did the ports for all of those. The King of Fighters one is okay. Samurai Showdown, okay. But
no Johnny Cage on Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. But the port they did of World Heroes Jet is actually a lot of fun. That one actually plays very well. And then we get to what I think is one of the best two-button fighters out there. And I'm a big Neo Geo Pocket Color fan, but this is still among my top portable fighters. Battle Arena Toshinden on the Game Boy. They took a 3D fighter.
Let's see this.
They took a 3D fighter and they turned it into a sprite-based fighter. But they kept a really interesting facet of the original game. So 3D fighters like Battle Arena Toshinden and Soul Calibur and stuff like that,
sure.
They have ring outs, right? Where you can get knocked out of the ring.
Oh, this looks adorable.
They kept it for the Game Boy version. And how they kept it was it's a 2D it's a 2D fighter, but on the ends, instead of being walls, there's edges. Yes. And when you get to the edges, you can actually, there's a separate like ring out meter and you can beat people down along the edges and you can actually ring out them in the 2D game. And it's just it's very fun, very responsive. All the characters are snappy. It's simple to learn. It's got great fucking graphics for a black and white for the original Game Boy. It's unbeatable. I mean, it's so fucking good. I really can't recommend it enough.
It's adorable. Let's see
awesome.
Who did this game? Takara.
Yeah, Takara.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I implied that this was an SNK property. It's not. This is obviously a different property.
So this is an interesting point in time because obviously this is a big, PlayStation launch title.
It's a PlayStation original. Like it's no one looks back on it fondly, but at the time it was a launch 3D fighting game.
Yeah. So I'm surprised that Nintendo's like, yeah, we'll do but it's almost like.
Well, it was on the Saturn too. It was not a Sony exclusive.
Sure,
it could have gone anywhere,
but it was marketed heavily.
Yes,
that
it was.
Game for the PlayStation. I'm just surprised to see that like Nintendo was okay putting the game, but it's a totally different game. Obviously, looking at it, it's like you could have called it something else.
Yeah, you absolutely could. They took the characters and they took the basic ring out concept, which at the time would have been more unique, and they turned it into a really competent 2D fighting game. I love it.
This could have been like an NES game, maybe. Maybe. It's just it's adorable.
It's so good.
So that's a good one. So any other fighters? But yeah, I'm glad you showed me this one. I never heard of that.
No, that's the best fighter I think on the system.
What about the just regular arcade games? Like remember they did like the chew packs with like was like Centipede, like a Missile Command or something like that.
Yeah, in Japan there was even one with Mappy.
Asteroid / Missile Command. That's the one. I think I own that one. And then Centipede / Millipede they did.
Again, I don't really touch those, not because I don't expect them to be accurate, but because Asteroids you could play. Missile Command needs a fucking trackball. Centipede and Millipede, I don't want to play without a trackball. I just don't.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, I mean,
one button goes faster across, but it's rough.
Right. I don't like to do it. Now, obviously, on a Game Boy, and I should try it out, the game is probably much smaller, and it probably works better without a trackball. But the Missile Command, I have no real interest in playing without an actual trackball.
I'm curious to try Paperboy.
Paperboy is fun.
It looks, just from the look at it, looks like it's something like the NES one.
Yep.
A lot of those NES and Game Boy games are almost not 1-to-1, but they're close.
Data East did really, really good arcade ports on the two in particular. One I always mention on the Game Boy, BurgerTime Deluxe, and
you love your BurgerTime
and Lock and Chase. I love BurgerTime as time goes on, specifically because of BurgerTime Deluxe. It's perfect. There is. The boards are the right size, they're the right shape, the AI is right, it's learnable. It doesn't fucking hate you when you stop 1 pixel shy of the ladder and you get stuck on the ladder trying to get off or get on. It's just really, really well done and very cute. And the difficulty ramps up perfectly throughout. It's like, I think it's 25 levels. And then its Lock and Chase version is similarly cute and well done.
I mean, I'm looking at being a Paperboy expert. I'm looking at the Game Boy version. I mean, it's the NES version. They probably changed the aspect a little bit.
They did.
But like, I'm looking at the graphics and the throw. It's the same game.
It's got pretty much everything in it. I don't think anything is missing.
Interesting.
I'm just as bad at it as I am on any other version, so I think it's accurate enough.
Paperboy is a weird game in general. I can go off on Paperboy and how weird.
At first, you got to play Stay Alive, and then you work the papers back in.
Yes, I mean that's basically how it is, but you have to get used to the cadence game. But no, I'm kind of amazed that it's exactly the same.
It's good.
The course is the same at the end. They basically, like I said, they just changed the aspect ratio, I think, a little bit. You can't see as much left to right on the screen. On it looks like
sure,
it's not as wide. It's more squarish. Cool. All right, and then yeah, any Game Boy Color ones, or sticking with your good old black and white?
No, just mostly sticking with the black and white. But as far as like Game Boy Color
or Kicks in there in the original?
The kicks. Wow, yeah.
You're
the Kicks
guy?
port for the original Game Boy is awesome.
That's an earlier title, right?
It is, and it's most people don't realize that it is a Nintendo-fied version of the game.
Oh, it is? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you don't notice it when you're actually playing, but every once in a while there's a little intermission with Mario dressed up like he's from different countries. So
that's adorable.
There's a somewhat culturally insensitive Mario in a sombrero. There's like there's just all these weird like little intermissions.
This is like part of their first run of Game Boy games where you have to have Mario on it.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, it must have been like an early release where they found a way to work Mario in there somewhere.
I never was good at Kicks.
I'm good at that one.
Like I feel like, oh, I'm doing great. Then you get your ass kicked like 3-4 stages in, and it's like, okay, I don't have what it takes.
Right? Yeah.
Kicks.
Yeah. It gets tough quick too, because you very quickly they have you needing to cover like 90%.
Oh, like a huge amount.
Yeah, you've got to cover.
Oh,
it's
God.
not like cover 75% anymore. It's like you've got to get all of this.
And then you find yourself doing the mini squares and rectangles that take forever.
My mom taught me how to play kicks really well.
Your mom taught you how to play kicks?
Just make little minis. Yeah.
Little minis?
Yeah, it's with the 2 level. Her technique was always the center technique, and I'm sure there's a better one. But she would just make this little tower in the middle. She'd build it up slowly, and then wait until the kicks were separated, and just
cut off one part of the screen.
If you split the kicks, you don't have to cover anything. If you split the kicks, you move on to the next level, and you get a bonus.
Oh, I gotta try that.
In the first like 4 or 5 levels, there's always 1 kicks, but very quickly there's 2 kicks, and if you split them, that's how you can get past it fast.
I gotta thank Mama Ferguson for that tip. I never thought about that. That's pretty good, Ian.
It's just good.
That's pretty good. All right.
good.
Anything else on this Retronauts topic that we want to cover about this?
No.
No, you're thinking like any other ports?
I'm
and I'm sorry, Ian. I'm not I didn't grow up with a Game Boy. I don't have a huge amount to add with that, but
I did, but I only had like 5 games.
I am fascinated by those first like 2 years or so of the Game Boy and like how so many like arcade single screen games are like on there and ports. Like that's basically what the console was.
That's what drew me to it because I mean, what I love about the Game Boy is, I mean, when you get into it, you do start to like the longer games and stuff like that. Like there are some fun RPGs and, you know, platformers that are longer. But what I love about the Game Boy is it's high concentration of pick up and play titles that are done really, really well.
Sure. And then the oddities, like, seeing Mortal Kombat on the system when it's like, what poor kid got Mortal Kombat on the Game Boy? Like, I'm just thinking about that. Like, in like 4 frames a second animation, it looks terrible on there. And obviously, no fatalities and things like that are, well, I mean, there's fatalities, but you get the same crappy ones.